Hello and welcome to the Oakland A's UK YouTube channel. Also, on our Twitter account too, we are simulcasting for you Americans today for what is going to be the first of what is hopefully going to be a regular feature here on the YouTube channel and also on the Twitter account, a Monday review. So the idea is Monday evening here in the UK, say 8:30 as now here in the UK, so midday out there in Oakland. We will be doing a live stream on the YouTube channel and on Twitter, and we will be having a look back at the weekend just gone and then looking ahead to the week coming up. And of course, we can do that now because the 2023 MLB season is up and running. For the A's, it's more like we're up and then stumbling around drunk or something like that. Because although the opening night, hey, we got one good night at least. We had a bit of fun, a bit of enjoyment on opening nights, but then we quickly crashed back down to earth, didn't we, in the next two games against the Angels? But we will be looking back at a 3-game series against the Angels and then previewing the next series we've got coming up, which starts tonight on Monday night at the Coliseum. 3-game series against the Cleveland Guardians, which is going to be a tough one, but they're all tough for us, aren't they? So we shall see how that one goes. But lots to cover and lots to look forward to. So I am Matt, and you can get in contact if you are watching live on the YouTube channel through the YouTube chat. If you're watching on the Twitter account, if you go over to the YouTube channel, you can then find us on there at Oakland AUK. So do get in contact if you're watching live. Don't forget, of course, to follow at Oakland AUK across all the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we do have another topic to throw into the pot today. So whether you're watching live or you're watching on repeat, you can chip in on the comments on the YouTube section. Pitch clock. So big feature of Major League Baseball season this year. It's already had a big impact. Looking at the stats they just released, I think it was Jeff Passan of ESPN released the stats a couple of hours ago. The average MLB game time over this opening weekend has been 30 minutes shorter than last season. So it is really having the impact that MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred wanted, what MLB wanted in terms of getting rid of some of the dilly-dallying and getting shorter games, getting things moving a bit. But what are your views on it? Are you enjoying it? Are you liking it? Or do you not like it? Those of you who are at the Coliseum this weekend, what was it like to be there in person? Did you feel like it was all a bit rushed? Did it kind of come and go too quickly? Or was it good? Was it helpful? Was it more enjoyable? From a TV fan's point of view, how did you find it? Did you find it was just a slicker situation, just a way of things were ticking along more nicely, or was it over too quickly? Of course, the thing with the A's this season is that we're not very good. So if we're going to lose, I guess get it over and done with quickly, you could argue. But yeah, interested to hear your thoughts on what you think about the pitch clock. So do let me know on that if you're watching live, or indeed if you're watching later on. So Sammy Smith, nice to hear from you. Good evening to you, sir. Hope you enjoyed some of the weekend, at least from an Oakland A's perspective. I think that's going to be the story of this season, isn't it? It's going to be a case of taking the positives where we can find them, because we know it's going to be a tough season this season, another tough season. But yes, let me know what you thought about the pitch clock. If you watched any of the games over the weekend, did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Was it not for you? Let me know. But let's dive right in to the action, because we can start on a positive note, surely. The positive note we can start on was a win, an opening night win. And I'm so pleased for all of the fans who turned up at the Coliseum on Thursday night. It was a good crowd on hand, and they got a win. And not just any old win, but an exciting win. A come-from-behind win, 8th inning rallies, scoring 2 runs to get the win. Beautiful stuff. We all enjoyed that one. Yeah, maybe lulled us into a false sense of security. But hey, one win's better than none. So let's have a look. So it was a 2-1 victory, and a few notes that I picked out from the game. Firstly, Shohei showed up, unlike other Halos. So Shohei, as good as expected. I mean, he is an absolute freak in the best possible way. How he does what he does is just remarkable at the level he's playing at. He pitched very well, but we knew he wouldn't go particularly deep in the game, with it being the first start of the season. So I thought the A's handled it well in that they kind of waited things out. Thought, okay, let's just stick in this game and maybe we can attack the bullpen. And that's exactly what they did. And they got their rewards. Big credit then has to go to Carl Muller on his A's debut. Big assignment for him. Opening night, a lot of pressure on him there, and he handled it brilliantly. 5 strong innings by him. And then with Zach Jackson, Domingo Acevedo, who was as cool as you like with a pitch clock, wasn't he? He was running it down 2 seconds, 1 second. Daddy cool, Domingo. He pitched extremely well. Trevor May, Danny Jimenez. They really knocked it down and they kept us in the game and allowed us to take advantage when the Angels bullpen came in. So that was good. And of course, Ruiz dazzles on debut. That great catch in the first inning, setting the tone really, and got the first run on the board too. So that was really good. Again, pressure on him. He's been given the center field role with Pache leaving. There was a lot of pressure on him. So glad to see him coming through. And it was a good win, good way to start the season off. So a couple of comments coming through on the pitch clock debate. So Sammy said, definitely is positives when and where we can take them. I'm on the fence about the pitch clock at the moment. I'll have to see how it goes. Yes, that's I think it's one of the things we've seen so far. There actually hasn't been that many violations on either side, or certainly not as many as I thought there would be. So that was always going to be the thing. It's going to take an adjustment period, seeing how long the players would take to adjust to it, and also the umpires too. They do have grounds to show a bit of discretion, so we'll see how that plays out. But I think it worked well for the first weekend, and we'll see how it goes from there. DH Crew, hard to call a pitch clock. It's nice to keep things moving sometimes, but in a tense game, you want to savour the atmosphere. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's nobody minds if it's like 8th inning, big moment. You don't mind the pitcher taking a bit longer. You don't mind the hitter taking a gasp, taking a breath, letting the moment build. And that's going to be the thing, I think. I can't remember which game it was. I think it was the Texas Rangers opening night. I happened to have it on. And they had old Rob Manfred in the booth. And I was going to turn it off because I hate the bloke. But I kept it on and he was talking about the pitch clock. And he was talking about the fact that umpires do have some discretion. They can use that discretion for the feel of the game. If they feel it's right to just give someone a few more seconds or whatever before they start the clock, they can do that. So that's going to be the thing. Let's see if they do that in the later innings. I think that's definitely what the players seem to want. Be a bit more lenient in those later innings when it's a big moment. Hopefully they do that, and I think the mix will be good. Nate says, I think Fuji handled the pitch clock excellent with the bases empty. If only those bases stayed empty a bit longer, Nate. Hey, let's go back into the game because that brings us neatly onto the second game. And oh boy, it was all going so well. Those first 2 innings, he had the fastball going, he had that split going. Looked really nasty, that split, and they were swinging at it every time and couldn't make contact. So all looked very positive. However, this has been the thing, and I know we looked at the spring training stats previously. I think it was 16 innings, something like 17 walks to 20 strikeouts or something like that. But the thing with him is that's how he's always been. That's how he was in Japan. That's why he never really came to what people hoped he would and what the expectations were for him in Japan. He would always struggle with keeping runners off base. He would have an inning where it all snowballed on him. That's been his history. That's why, in some ways, the A's have ended up with him, because other major league teams were looking at him as a reliever. And he wanted to start. We were prepared to give him that opportunity. I still think that's going to be the question as we go forward this season. Is he going to be able to keep control of things and stop that bad inning getting worse and worse? Because if he doesn't, the stuff is there. The fastball, the splitter, he would be a very, very good reliever. I think that may be where he ends up, but it's absolutely right for the A's to give him a shot and try to keep him in the rotation as long as possible. because he did show some good stuff. He's a big guy, actually, when you look at him. And I saw his mum was in the audience, wasn't she, praying, holding her hands like this, desperately willing him to do well. So shows what pressure these guys are under. But it was going well for the first couple of innings, and then an absolute disaster in the third inning. We can go to the details. 11-run inning horror show. Just, it seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed like he started throwing the slider a lot more. They weren't swinging at it. I looked at the stats, and every time the slider was out of the zone, they left it. It wasn't a close pitch. It wasn't, a good miss, as they say. They were able to lay off it and then feed on the other stuff. So it was a real problem for him. He wasn't able to stem the bleeding once it had started. And that's something he's got to do at the big league level. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for him to stick in the rotation now. I'm not going to put that on him just yet. There's a long, long way to go this season, but it's something he has to do better, because he was good those first 2 innings, showed how good he can be. The only other positive we can take from the game was Ramon Laureano leaving the yard. Now, first game, Laureano went 0 for 4, struck out 3 times. Didn't look good, to be honest. Really didn't look good. Poor at bats, flailing away, but looked so much better in game 2. Hit a home run and then again in game 3. So hopefully Ramon is on track, because we know what a spark plug he can be for this team. So a few more comments from Nate. Does anyone remember Todd Van Poppel? To be honest, before my time, but I remember the name. Was he a pitcher who couldn't find a strike zone? Am I getting the right bloke? I seem to remember the name from somewhere. I think he was before I started watching baseball. Did I see Stu's breakdown on Fuji? No, I haven't as yet. I know it's out there on the internet. I need to go back and watch that. I know Stu was in camp, wasn't he, with the team. He had various correspondence on Twitter with, I forget his name now, James Caprellian's dad, talking about how he was hoping to kind of bring his experience and wisdom to the group. And obviously it's a bit more difficult with Fuji. He's trying to learn English, so it's a bit more of a difficult thing going through the translator, but it'd be good to see that. No, I'll definitely catch up on that, Nate, in terms of Stu's breakdown of Fuji, because there's a man in Stu who knows how to harness lethal stuff to be a very, very good pitcher at the major league level. And I think that's going to be the thing. I guess the only thing with Fuji, it's got to be careful he hasn't got too many voices in coming at him with different ideas on how to pitch. He needs to kind of talk to Scott Emerson, the pitching coach, and the catching stuff, and find a way through. And I think that's going to be the thing. This was always the point with somebody like Fuji coming to the A's this season. He was going to get some rope, in effect. He knows there's going to be a transition period. He's going to take some lumps along the way. The A's can allow him to do that. It's not going to cost us a playoff spot. Let's be honest. We can let him do that. Nate says, especially with a split it. Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah, I'll definitely have to hunt that one down, Nate, in terms of Stu's comments on that, because, yeah, definitely really interesting. So there was game 2. All went south, but it's one game. That's the thing. You have a nightmare in game 2, you can come back again on a Sunday and try to get somewhere better. Unfortunately, that's not really what happened, is it? A 6-0 loss. And I'm not going to go overboard on 3 games. 3 games is nothing. I saw apparently some Giants fans were going nuts about their loss to the Yankees in the series and how many times they were striking out. It's 3 games. It doesn't add up to too much. But needless to say, we were shocking when it came to the offense last year. Terrible in getting runs across the board. I remember when we went to, myself, Dom, Hannah and Mark, went to the Coliseum at the end of the season and looking up at the scoreboard and seeing the batting averages of all of the A's players. It was ridiculous, right? There was no one who'd done anything with the bat. We've brought in some additions, and we'll come to those in a minute, but we need to do much better. We scored 3 runs in 3 games. You don't need me to tell you, you're not going to win many games if you're scoring 1 run a game. I think Logan O'Hoppe, the Angels, good young catcher. He got 6 RBIs during this series. That's twice the number of runs that the A scored total in the 3 games. That's not a recipe for a nice meal. It is a recipe for a sloppy dog's dinner of a meal that could be what we end up with this season. So very disappointing how we were unable to get anything going. And the biggest issue for me, I tweeted about this on the A's UK Twitter account yesterday. We got 2 runners on against Tyler Anderson in the first inning, didn't come through. First 2 batters in the second inning got on base, and they called for Tony Kemp to bunt. Now, I'm assuming they called for Tony Kemp to bunt and he wasn't doing it on his own. I hated that move. I know Kemp, it was lefty on lefty, but still, you've got the man on the ropes. It's always the way because certain pitchers try to get to them early. They've got 2 runners on straight away. To me, it's just a negative mindset to try and bunt in that situation. Swing away. Even if you hit into a double play, maybe the runner still gets to third and you may still be able to bring him home. But it just gave away. Of course, he messed up with a bunt and was a foul pop-up. But yeah, there we go. It was a nightmare and really set a bad tone for the game, I have to say. And that was then exacerbated as the game went on. Waldichuk, a bit like Fuji in a different way, but he started pretty well and he does look effective. You know, he does have good stuff, but just got monstered for 3 home runs in this game. The back-to-backs in particular, which we'll come to in a moment. But the A's bats were non-existent. We've got to do more. We've got to try and make some runs, try and do something because we're just putting the pitching staff under far too much pressure. We let Anderson off the hook in those early innings and it came back to bite us. Couple of comments. Sammy is back. I think with Fuji, it's more a case of minor tweaks rather than full overhaul. Absolutely. I mean, there's so much positive with him in terms of his size and his stuff. That splitter is absolutely insanely nasty, and he's got a big fastball. It's just about how he can control himself on the mound and not let an inning get away from him, which is what happened on Saturday. And again, unfortunately, that's kind of been his MO for his career. They need to find a way to help him out and to help him get around that. If they can, we've got a very good pitcher on our hands this season, but that is the risk we've taken. We've rolled the dice, right? Again, that's why the A's have got him rather than another team. There are reasons why he might not pan out. He may flame out and not really come to anything. The A's can give him the opportunity to see what he's got. It's worth us taking that risk and throwing the dice and seeing what we get. Always good to hear from Carl. Hello, you beautiful birdie. Thank you, Carl. As always, Carl, I never quite know what to say. Hope you're well, though, Carl, out there in Arizona. If you get into any Major League games in the near future, do let me know. I am heading out to Oakland in May. And I know Dom is going out to Oakland and LA in August. So there are a few different trips going on. Someone going out in September too. So if you're heading Oakland way or anything like that, do let us know, of course. But yeah, if you're able to see any baseball in Arizona, yeah, be good to hear from you. So there we are. 3-game series against the Angels all went down the pan, unfortunately, after a good positive start and a few signs of things that we feared may be a problem for the season ahead. 3 games, the Angels score 20 runs, we score 3. 3 games, the Angels hit 27 hits, we get 16. It's just not going to work. We've got to find a way to get guys going around the bases. We've got to see some power. We did see Jesus Aguilar got a couple of hits in the 3rd game, so maybe he's coming around. He's certainly someone I think could have a good bounce back year. He needs a bounce back year after struggling last year with the Marlins and then the Orioles. But so he's a guy who's coming around. Aledmys Diaz has looked very good. Really good signing, I think, Aledmys Diaz. Even just seeing him during the game yesterday, he was the one who went to the mound, went to talk to Ken Waldichuk. He's got that experience, a World Series winner, of course. So I think he's going to be a good signing for us. But come on, boys, we need something. We need some energy and we need some runs to give us a much better chance of sticking in games and taking some of the pressure off the pitching staff. Carl says, I've been doing great with being a magnet of divorced single mothers in their 30s. Good, Carl. Well, I would say tell us more, but I don't mean that. Probably best that you don't. But yes, unless it's baseball related, it's a family show, Carl. So let me know. Always good to find out what is going on in the life of Carl. Maybe censor it for the watershed. Do you have watersheds in America TV? I don't know. We probably need one here with Carl on the case. I was going to have a quick look, actually. I'd like to try and go in depth on some things on this live stream on a regular Monday review here. The story is only developing. Oh, good. So I was saying, Carl, we are doing, my plan is to do this every Monday at the same time. So 8:30 here in the UK, about 8:30 midday in Oakland. I think it's an hour later in Arizona, isn't it? There are watershed moments. Yes, good. Mostly with you, Carl. So yes, you can keep us up going every week. You can give us a weekly update of how things are going. It'll be a little subplot for us. But what I was saying, I like to try and get into some detail on some pitching. And here we go. Oops, I've taken it out. That was wrong. Okay, here we go. So this is from the MLB Game Day app. And they do quite a nice job here of how they display things now. I'm going to get rid of... there we go. That works. So this is the pitch map for the O'Hoppe at bat. And the one in blue, if you can see, it depends how big your screen is here, was the one he hit for a home run. So it's a high fastball, but a bit too middle of the zone, really. And that was kind of where it went wrong. With the back-to-back home runs, so this is Trout and Ohtani. If I just click on that to get rid of that for a second. There we go. So the thing here, so Trout's went 434 feet, blimey. Ohtani said, hold my beer, 447 feet. 27-degree launch angle. Neither pitch was particularly bad. It's the blue ones that are the ones that were hit. So the Trout's one was on the outside corner. It's a bit higher than he wanted. It's kind of middle of the zone vertically. But not a terrible pitch. And the same with the one to Ohtani. That's not a bad pitch at all. That is what happens when you've got guys like Trout and Ohtani. And that's the thing Waldichuk has got to learn to live with and to learn to cope with. You can make half-decent pitches and still get spanked 450 feet. That's the big leagues for you. And yeah, it's a tough proving ground. That's for certain. Because I'm interested to see James Kaprielian since I thought he would be the number one starter in the rotation. He is starting tonight, or should be anyway, Carl. So we will come to him in a second. Nate summing things up perfectly there, I think. Yes. So, yeah, so that was the Angels series. Not the start we wanted, but probably the start we feared. At least we got one game, hey? We didn't want another one of those waiting ages to get our first win of the season jobs. So at least we haven't had to suffer that at all. Some other news then coming out over the weekend. In fact, just before the season started, let's have a look at this. So this is the... what happened with the roster at the start of the season? We knew there would be a couple of guys who wouldn't quite be ready for the start of the season. And this is how things panned out. So Manny Pena, who was going to be the backup catcher, obviously acquired from the Braves in the Sean Murphy trade. He was placed on a 10-day injured list. That was retroactive. They were all retroactive to the 27th of March, I believe. So he is due to return or eligible to return on the 6th of April. No word yet, as far as I've seen, as to whether he will be brought up at that point or if he'll need longer. Issue with his left wrist, which was operated on last season. So that's a bit of a concern. But yes, he would be eligible to come up to the roster later this week, but we'll see if he does. Blackburn and Rosinski, those two guys would have been in the starting rotation if they hadn't had minor injuries. They are both minor injuries, so they should be back, you would think, with the minimum. So that's 11th of April. So when's that? Next Wednesday, is it? Well, let's have a quick look. Next Tuesday, they are eligible to be back. So, yes, they will come in. And that's an interesting part of the competition we've got. You know, there's other guys who are in the rotation at the moment. Waldichuk, JP Sears. We've seen Adam Oller and Adrian Martinez in those last two games pitching out of the bullpen, going in long relief, and actually doing pretty well, particularly Adrian Martinez yesterday. I thought he looked good. So, yes, there's competition for places there. So Blackburn and Rosinski will be back fairly soon. Freddie Tarnock, one of the guys we got from the Braves in the Sean Murphy deal. Forearm strain, I think it was, or there was just discomfort in his arm, wasn't there? I suspect he won't be coming straight back to the big league roster anyway. He'll be heading to AAA. So we'll see from there. Kirby Snead out for a couple of months at least, unfortunately. So that's how we ended up with the roster that we did. Nate asks, do you think Ohtani outdrives Trout at Top Golf 2? Probably. I think I've seen footage of Trout playing golf, or at the driving range at least. So yeah, that would be an interesting contest. Ohtani in particular strikes me as being the sort of person who you could give him anything and he would be amazing at it, whether it's tennis, whether it's badminton, whether it's golf, whether it's, I don't know, the luge or skeleton or whatever they call it, going down a bobsleighs or things. He'd probably be brilliant at that too, wouldn't he? It's just the type of guy that he is. Carl asks, what areas does Ramon Laureano need to improve to get back to his prior stat lines? Good question, Carl. I think there was definitely a confidence issue last year. He didn't have a proper spring training because of coming back from the drug suspension. And he never quite looked right. I know he had a couple of niggling injuries. He never really looked right. He never really got into a rhythm. There was a good interview, I think it was by Martin Gallegos on MLB.com, the A's beat writer, where Laureano was talking about how the fact he basically had 2 weeks off. I think he had 10 days off, and he was directly back in Arizona at the training camp in Arizona, the Lou Wolf complex or whatever it is called. And he's been working for like 3 months to get himself into better shape for the season. I think a lot of it is confidence and just trusting in his ability. That's what I remember most about Ramon Laureano we saw initially. Just lots of talent and fearlessness, basically. He was, as I mentioned earlier, the spark plug. He would go for the ball. He would, both in defense, when he's fielding, on his throws, on the base pads, at the plate, he was fearless. He was just trusting his talent and reacting. I think that was been a bit of an issue for Ramon. He's had some struggles. He's had some niggly injuries, and I think he's overthinking things a bit. Maybe wrong, but that's the impression I get. To me, he is very much an instinctive player, someone who plays his best when he just lets his talent come through, which is true for every player to a certain extent, but I think Ramon Laureano in particular. So I just want him to have some health and get regular playing time, and I think that's what he needs to do. Maybe there's some tweaks to his setup or something like that, but I think he just needs regular playing time, hopefully good health, and he will come good. Now, of course, we all know with that, if he has a good first half of the season, we're going to trade him. Such is the life of the Oakland A's right now. But yeah, hopefully we see it anyway, because Ramon, of course, a real favourite of everyone, especially out there in the bleachers. So we'd love to see him coming through. And if Esteury Ruiz in centre field shows what he can do, we've not really seen much base running, of course, so far this season. It was something that was a real feature of spring training. The A's were stealing bases for fun. Now, I don't think you can put too much into what we've seen so far this season, because we were miles behind in the second game and then behind in the third game. So you're not going to be stealing bases during those sort of games. But I would like to see people like Ruiz and Ramon. Seth Brown stole a base in the first game, didn't he? I'd like to see those guys really start to test the pitches. We're seeing it across the major leagues because, in particular, pitchers being limited on how many throws they can make to the base. You know, we're seeing that hitters can take advantage of that. And I'd love to see the A's do that. I think they will if spring training is a guide. We'll start seeing that. Maybe we will see that in the Cleveland series coming up. Carl says, if you're making a trip to Oakland since Springer won't be there, I have to mess with you. Okay. You don't have to mess with me, Carl. You can leave me alone. We'll see. Yeah, I don't think Stringer is heading out anywhere this year, I'm afraid. But we shall see. We'll be able to drag him out at some point. Don't you worry. Let's move ahead then. Half an hour in, we will have a quick look at the series coming up against the Cleveland Guardians. I almost said Indians. I caught myself just at the last there. So it's a 3-game series starting tonight at the Coliseum. So tonight and tomorrow is a night game in Oakland. So it's a 6:40 start in Oakland, or 6:37, whichever way you put it. So that is 2:40 in the morning here in the UK. So I did stay up and watch the opener. That was 3 o'clock in the morning our time. Don't think I'll be doing that for these ones, I'm afraid. Work tomorrow. But yeah, so 2 night games. So Zach Plesac for the Guardians, and then James Capellian for us. Plesac, you can ignore his win-loss total. His win-loss total last year was ridiculous. I think he lost like 15 games or something ridiculous. But his underlying stats and his underlying performance was much better than that. He's a decent, solid starting pitcher. James Capellian, I think, can be that too. Obviously, he had just some minor surgery on his shoulder over the off-season, but I think he's looking good. Good to see Cap coming out tonight. Tuesday, ooh, tough task. That is not a favourable matchup, is it? Shane Bieber and the Oakland A's offense. That is not that. I tweeted after the game yesterday, it may not be the last time we get shut out this home series, at this homestand. And Shane Bieber on a Tuesday night, yeah, that could be difficult. JP Sears, another young pitcher, he's getting a chance in the rotation because of Blackburn and Rosinski not starting on the roster, starting on the injured list. So we'll see how he goes. And then the Wednesday game, the series finale, is a day game out there in Oakland. So 12:37 in Oakland. So a nice time for us, 8:37 in the evening, British summertime. And that is Carl Muller, who did well in the opening game. Hopefully he can back that up against Hunter Gaddis. And I should be doing a live stream. I'll either do a live stream before that game or after the game. Maybe after the game, actually. Normally, I wouldn't bother after the game because it's late. It's now not late because games are over within like 2.5 hours. So I may have a look at that. Nate adds to this. It's cool and windy here. Betley under. Good intelligence there for Nate. So yeah, a bit of inside information for any bettors. I know Carl will be jumping on that. Yeah, the ball maybe not flying as much as it would do usually. There will be an interesting series, won't it? I was looking at the stats today. So Cleveland come into the season having won 3 or 4 in Seattle. We know Seattle are a good emerging team. The Guardians lost the opener, but then came back with 3 straight wins. Sunday's victory was an extra innings one, 10th inning. The Mariners were chucking the ball around. They did that in a couple of games, playing some pretty sloppy defense by the Mariners in that one. Josh Nader got a ground ball. They threw it around. The Guardians were able to score the winning run, 6-5. So they're coming in good form, 3 consecutive wins. The only thing I will say about that is that the Guardians have had no rest. So the Guardians have played 4 straight days. They did use 5 relief pitchers yesterday, so maybe, if we can get to Plesac early and get into that bullpen, maybe we've got a chance. Maybe that's the game we can win. If we can win one game, maybe that's the one we can get. The other thing with those pitching matchups, just to focus in on a bit more, again, just to put them up. So Plesac, Bieber, and Gaddis, they're all right-handers. And that is something we're going to see about the way that Mark Kotsay utilizes the roster this season. We saw this in the opener, didn't we? That Jace Peterson, who will be playing against right-handers but not against lefties, he started in the opener and played third base. That meant Aledmus Diaz started at shortstop, so Nick Allen was on the bench. I think that's what we'll do tonight, at least, against Zach Plesac. Maybe we'll do that for the whole series. Jace Peterson will come in, play at third base, Aledmus Diaz at shortstop, Nick Allen as a guy off the bench. We may see someone like Connor Capel playing a bit as a lefty, or Ryan Noda may come in as well, both 2 lefty bats. We've got now who may start against right-handed pitchers during this series. But yes, it will be a tough series. There is no doubt about that. Again, if we can take 1 of 3, that's probably good going. And maybe tonight's game, Monday night's game, could be the one we do it. Cleveland played 4 games in a row. Maybe their bullpen is being a bit used too much early in this season. Maybe we can take advantage. We need to try and find any sort of advantage we can to get anything out of any series right now. But yeah, hopefully there's something positive for us to end on there. I do feel like it's a series that we can get something from, and it's early in the year. We know it's going to be tough. We head out, we've got Thursday off, and then it's off to Tropicana Field to face the Rays. So they're all difficult series for us, given the state of our roster, but we've got to be positive. We've got to try and do our best and try, and I don't know what the best way of putting it is. We've got to try and give a good account of ourselves. Just focus on the performance. If we focus on the performance, even if we lose and we get beat by Shane Bieber tomorrow night, for example, well, you take it. We just want to see us playing in the right way. And this was why I was so annoyed with the bunt that Tony Kemp put down in the game yesterday. There was no need to do it. It was just giving away an out. And yeah, I thought it was the wrong attitude to take. Maybe it would have made absolutely no difference whatsoever. But I like us to be positive. Let's get some base runners. Let's get some stealing going. Let's try and put pressure on the opposition. Carl says, Matt, go out fox hunting. No. No fox hunting around here. Thank you very much. I like the foxes. So there we go. I'm not one of these hoity-toity people in their fancy garb with their bugle chasing after foxes. I leave that to other people. And what I leave to other people is, well, probably the next 20 minutes, I guess, because we're now coming up to 40 minutes. So I shall call it a live stream. Thank you so much for everyone who has been watching Hunt with Your Hands. Hunt with your hands. A hunter-gatherer. That is what I am. I do, of course, come from the rural wilds of Norfolk. So, yes, we are very much not quite your city slickers like Londoners and all of that. So I don't do too much hunting, I have to admit. But yes, we will be looking forward to the series tonight starting. And again, my plan is to do the next live stream on Wednesday, probably after the game. So when will that be? Like probably about 11 p.m. Our time, whatever that would be. I don't know. Work it out yourself. But yeah, I'll be tweeting about it and we'll try and put a message up on the YouTube channel too. So do take a look. Basil and Biscuit up the foxes. There we go. Thank you, Nate. Basil and Biscuit. No idea. Is that something I should know? Sorry, Nate. You've confused me with that one. Do let me know what the story is there. But yes, I was going to have a quick look actually because there were a couple of games that started early today, weren't there? Oh, here we go. Oh, blimey, O'Reilly. So Milwaukee and the Mets. Milwaukee are absolutely pounding the Mets 10-0. I did see that because it's the Brewers' home opener today, and they had a flyover by the air fighter jets, but the roof was closed, so nobody could see it, which is somewhat hilarious. 11 p.m., also known as watershed moments in Arizona. Oh, good. That's good to know. But yes, so the Brewers are up 10-0 on the Mets. Blimey. Who got blew up Lev on the Mets? Oh, Carlos Carrasco got hit for 5 runs in 4 innings, and Hunter got hit for 5 runs in 2 innings too. Wow, there we are. Not a good start for the Mets. So they obviously took 3 or 4 in their opening series against the Marlins. So as you would, but yes, a 10 spot. Wow, a 7 spot in the 5th inning by the Brewers. God. Mets following on from the A's lead there, and unfortunately, in less good news, if you are like me and not a both sides Bay Area baseball fan, the Giants are up 3-0, 4 innings complete against the White Sox. So the Giants up 3-0 in that one. Jock Peterson homering to center field or right center field. There we go. So still early in that one. But there we are. Lots of baseball to enjoy. I love this part of the year whereby we have so much baseball to enjoy. Obviously, there's lots of good pitching matchups at this time of year because the aces are lining up against each other, and we've had so long. Although the World Baseball Classic was fantastic, really enjoyed that. Now we've got the real stuff, right? We've got the proper MLB games coming at us thick and fast every day. It's fantastic. Love it. It is a British lady on YouTube who feeds foxes is going viral on YouTube Shorts. Oh, there we go. Basil and Biscuit up the foxes. I will look it up. Maybe she is a closet A's fan and we can do some sort of tie-up which will help us pick up subscriber numbers or something. I don't know. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do give subscribe, of course, a good segue and a good way to finish this off. So yes, once again, thank you everyone who has been watching live. There's been a few of you watching live. That's great. And commenting as well. Always good to have people commenting on the live show, not Basil Brush. No, the classic boom boom Basil Brush. And this is Carl. I am going to wrestle the fox. Hopefully that's not a euphemism, Carl. We shall leave it there. Thank you again for everyone who has been watching live and commenting, nodding yes. Yes, good. Yes. So yes, thank you everyone for watching live and joining in on the chat. As I said, we should be going live again on Wednesday after the A's game. So if you're about then, do get in contact. Let me know your thoughts on the game. And hopefully by then, we would have got a win or two. It seemed a long shot, but we've got a chance there. I will make it a figure of speech. Good. A good point to end on. So there we go. Thanks again. We will be back on Wednesday. Let's see what the A's can do. See you soon.